Cool. All right. Well, on the subject of coaching staffs, obviously we'll move on to the Senior Bowl, which was the game itself was on Saturday, and the Dolphins coaching staff saw their side go for a 27-24 victory over the Panthers staff. Quite a good game, I thought, and as a bit of a college geek, I really enjoyed seeing some of these guys playing together. A couple of names stood out to me, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Lee, I'll flip to you first, and then so we'll go straight on to you. But in terms of like the benefit of this, a lot of obviously benefits here, getting to see these rookies and stuff like that. But do you reckon that they were gunning to take this role, or was it just one that they happened to be kind of forced into doing?
No, I think they would have scrambled over other people to get this opportunity if they could have. I mean, I believe it works via the drafts, the order of the draft, doesn't it? So teams ahead of them had turned down the chance, but I think they would have jumped at the chance no matter what. Especially this year, I think Brian Flores would any year because he seems like that sort of coaching junkie almost. I imagine he just loves live football. But this year, when there's no combine, when everything's going to be done virtually, this is a chance to actually get hands-on with players that are going to be available in the draft. And don't be surprised if this affects the way the Dolphins draft, because if you've got two guys that are close on your board, but you worked with one of them at the Senior Bowl, to me that has to elevate him. It takes some risk out of the equation. I don't see the downside at all, not at this time of year. I mean, the only argument you could make is I wonder if it affected the coaching search, maybe. But I mean, I don't really see a negative to it. I think only good things can come of it, and I'm actually really pleased that they did it. Also, I was pleased with the way they coached the game. It was interesting because in commentary, they were upset that they kicked field goals and that they punted the ball. But that's how this game's going to be coached in the NFL. This is what we're going to want you to do. This is the way we're going to treat. They treated them as if they were NFL players right now, and for me, I thought that was a great thing. Even though in commentary, I know they were kind of down on it.
Yeah, they just wanted.
And hey, they came out of it with a win. So
That's it. Exactly. Sorry, go on. We'll have a quick chat through some players then. No, that's probably what the listeners want to hear. A few names that could come off the board for us come April. April, yeah, come April. Any one that kind of stood out from you? I know you had a quick watch the highlights and stuff.
Yeah, I got a couple that sprung to mind actually that caught my eye. I mean, I'm not pretending to be a college expert by any means. So I didn't have any of the previous background knowledge behind any of these players when I was watching them, when I saw the highlights, but a couple of them did stand out. First one was the Louisville wide receiver, Des Fitzpatrick, and he first caught my eye because of his name. So it wouldn't be ironic if we had another Fitzpatrick on the team. He got 6 receptions for 90 yards, and I did a bit of research in terms of how he performed throughout the week, not just on the game day, to be fair. And by all accounts, he did come back with some good comments. He had an impressive set of measurables, and was turning a lot of heads in practice throughout the week, not just on game day. He's got a lot of good intangibles that were on display. His release, his good route running, his separation, which of course is something that the current receivers haven't got in the team. He's got those strong hands and he's got that consistency. So all of those were kind of some of the things that people were commenting on on the back of his offensive MVP game performance. Of course, he didn't get the overall game MVP, but he did get the offensive MVP. So he was the one that immediately caught my eye. I don't know, as I said, too much about him in terms of what round he's earmarked to go in. Perhaps you can comment in a second, Andy, on that, because I know you've done a lot more prep around the draft with your guide, which you can, of course, mention. So there was him, and then there's the other one was Amari Rogers, which was another wide receiver. And those two caught my eye as well, because wide receiver is such an important role for our team going forward in terms of whether we're going to address that position in the draft. So Amari Rogers, again, doing some research into his senior week performance, he's certainly generating some early round 2 buzz in the circles of those that attended the practices. Again, he showed that consistency in separating in practice, and and he's also secured a couple of tough catches in the game. Of course, there was that touchdown which he scored, which was in double coverage, and of course there was that 2-point conversion as well, where he pointed the ball. So he again stood out to me. So Amari Rodgers and Des Fitzpatrick were the two for me that stood out.
Yeah, definitely. Amari Rodgers quite a talent, really. Like Clemson's wide receiver 1 on the season. So, yeah, definitely can see us having a look there if we go elsewhere in the first round for wide receiver. So if we don't go wide receiver in the first round, he's probably going to be sat there in the board on the second when we come round for our first pick in the second round. So, yeah, love him. A lot of pace, a lot of separation, and just a bit of a game changer. So, yeah, keep your eyes on him. In terms of the guys that Flores coached that he might like. I mean, defensively, we had some of the better defensive players in the draft. For me, my favourite defensive lineman in the draft is Patrick Jones at Pittsburgh. He got the big sack in the game. Other than that, he was quite quiet. But you heard like Daniel Jeremiah talking up as well. He's a pure edge rusher who's just been kind of doing it up there for Pitt this year, and obviously they've got some good pedigree on that defensive line up in Pitt with like Aaron Donald and stuff coming through that way. So yeah, great chance to have a look at him, and I'm sure Flores and co will have liked what they've seen. Other than that, the kind of obvious one for me, which might be a second, the two obvious ones for me, which might be a second round sort of pick for us in the linebacking position, which we're not overly confident in going forward for the Dolphins. I think it's fair to say between the three of us, you've got Chaz Surratt from North Carolina and Baron Browning from Ohio State. So two very different players. Surratt, a converted quarterback, who probably is just one of these. He just looks like one of these guys that just loves football. He's everywhere on the field. He's vocal. He's a leader behind the ball, behind the line. Sorry. And then Baron Browning's much more athletic and a natural linebacker, and he just racks up those stats. So yeah, two great players, and they had pretty good, solid games and stuff, or pretty good, solid weeks, I should say. So that's exciting there. And then it's difficult for the offensive side of the ball. Wasn't that impressive, I didn't think, from the national team, which the Dolphins coaches took over. I mean, quarterback-wise, I must admit, I think Sam Ehlinger's absolutely terrible as a quarterback, and obviously he got a touchdown. But if he doesn't convert to fullback, I don't think he's going to make it as a pro, and that is with all the due respect in the world. Ian Book and Felipe Franks, the other two guys, I like both of them. I think they're both mid-round quarterbacks who've got a time as a backup in the league, but no more than that, really. Michael Carter's the main guy that stood out for me on offense, that the running back from North Carolina as well. Part of that 1-2 punch throughout the season with Javonte Williams. Williams obviously got the higher round sort of grade on him from most of us who've been looking at the draft. He's probably the running back 3 on the board. But Carter did himself no harm at all. Really small back, gets between the tackles, and got that quick short speed burst as well. Can't really see the Dolphins going in for him, frankly. I think that the kind of small build and the kind of, the looking to hit the A gap and then get that speed burst and go, that's something we've got in Gaskin already and even in Ahmed. So I don't think that's probably where we go, but he was impressive on the day. And wide receiver wise, sorry, I know I'm on a bit of a monologue, but Nico Collins from Michigan has been my guy for a while. He sat the season out this year, but he is the kind of the ex receiver that gets on the outside and stretches the field whilst also being very good at the contested catch point. Probably a little bit too much like Devontae Parker, but also, good young prospect, someone that we'd be able to get third roundish, I guess, and could be like a good choice as a second receiver that we take in the draft.